The heated debate about Confederate statues continues to intensify across North Alabama tonight. Community activist and youth mentor with Decatur Youth Services, Bruce Jones, joins us now to talk more about the issue. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Glad to be here, Nadja.
The Lauderdale County Commission had a meeting, and one of the topics of conversation was the removal of the Confederate statue outside the county courthouse. Tonight they learned the monument is actually city property, so now the vote on removing it will be up to the city council. So what do you think about the process that cities and counties are having to go through to remove these monuments?
Well, first there's a state law, so you got to consider that. But locally, I think we should be able to make those decisions. Our tax dollars are going to pay for these public buildings that many of these monuments are standing on. So the local people should have a say-so in that. And then there should be equal representation of those local people. It shouldn't be just the people who look like the people on that statue. It should be people who represent that whole community, and everybody should have a seat at the table. Well, a good representation of people should be seated at that table to make that decision, because that statue affects everybody in the community, not the ones just for it, but the ones who have a horrific history with those statues.
That is not the only Confederate statue gaining attention tonight. The Madison County Commission is waiting for permission from the state to remove the monument outside the Madison County Courthouse. Specifically, how to do that without being fined $25,000 under the Memorial Preservation Act. So what is your perspective on this Memorial Preservation Act?
Even when that law was came to be, was there equal representation of the people in the communities where those statues are? When you make those decisions on a state level, but you're not taking into consideration the local people who are affected by the statues, I don't think that's fair. And if you decide that those monuments are very important to certain people of the community, certain ethnic groups, well, consider the other ethnic groups that also represent that community and who represent them on those public in those public spaces. Do you have monuments of people like Harriet Tubman, who fought to free slaves and risked her life to free slaves, as well as those who fought in battle to preserve heritage of the South? There was Black people that risked their lives to get freedom for Black people, because they didn't want them continuing such atrocities and such violence and the things that they went through. So, I think let's have a sit down, let's have a dialogue, let's have a seat at the table, and let's compromise. How can we make this thing right for everybody that represents our community?
Also in the news today, NASCAR and authorities are searching for the person who put a noose in Bubba Wallace's team garage at Talladega Superspeedway. Wallace is the only Black driver in NASCAR's top circuit. As a youth mentor, and as we see these types of things happening, what kinds of conversations are you having with area youth, and how are you telling them to respond?
Well, when I was working with the youth, day in and day out, my main goal was to help them, be angry, but sin not. Be angry, but let's not return ugly for ugly. What are some good ways in which we can let people know that we're not happy with what goes on? And you're not going to find that many, let me put it this way. I don't see many Black kids interested in NASCAR. Now, they love fast cars, they love racing, but they don't see a lot of people that represent them. And, if you look at certain NASCAR events and around the country, when you see the rebel flags and when you see the makeup of it, it's just not inviting for a lot of kids of Black ethnicity. So, I like the move that they're making. I hate what happened to Bubba Wallace, but once again, that shows you how deep-seated this thing is. But I appreciate those brethrens of Bubba Wallace that came to his support in unison, because that is a way that we get rid of this ugliness. When people who are also a part of the NASCAR who say, hey, enough is enough. Now, will that keep all the people who feel so strongly about the rebel flag and all that from doing crazy things? Well, maybe not, but at least they'll know they're not getting support from the people that really matters.
Community activist and youth mentor Bruce Jones, thank you so much for your time and insight tonight.
Okay. Thank you, Naja.